Okay, I'm back. Yes, second time this morning. Just finished breakfast, so this has to be quick because I got to eat my breakfast before it gets cold. Uh, but I was just watching a couple of videos on YouTube, and they were talking about artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence, and how this is going to save the world. And the usual way that this is offered, and there's an intersection with global heating, and there's an intersection with my last video, which is. Um, we're going to stop burning fossil fuels and you will need to adopt village life. But village life could be amazing. And I even mentioned when I compare it to amazing that we might have artificial intelligence. So I was just watching, that's the tie in. So I was just watching a series of videos on people pontificating on how artificial intelligence and its big brother, artificial general intelligence, is going to save the world. And there have been lots of talk about this for actually even science fiction back in the 70s and 80s was talking about this, right? That humans are flawed, humans make crap decisions, we're shit at this, and we're always trying to steal each other's stuff, and we could do far better if we just shared. But we can't share because we're chimps. And all we know is that other chimp has a banana, and there's bananas all in the trees. I mean, we could cooperate and just pick all the bananas or pick the ones we want or manage the bananas and share the bananas and have rules about bananas, but we don't. What do? I don't have a banana. I look over there and that chimp has a banana. So what do? I ignore all the bananas up in the trees and I go over there and I hit that chimp in the head and I steal his banana. And if that doesn't describe 99% of human history, then I don't know what does. It's cynical, it's mean-spirited, it's whatever, but it is. That's what it is. One chimp stealing another chimp's banana while the trees are full of bananas, okay? So, artificial intelligence. One theory is that artificial intelligence, and this is not a bad theory. This is actually a good theory. This is the chimps even cooperating theory, all right, which chimps don't do. But let's just go with it, shall we? That artificial intelligence will answer all of our questions for us, and it will do it in a way that is uh, high-minded, fair, just, and it will lean on physics and it will lean on mathematics because it's a machine, right? It's machine intelligence. So why wouldn't it? And it knows all about human history because it knows everything. And that's what AI is doing right now. In case you haven't been paying attention, AI is trained on everything. Everything from Greek tragedies and Aristotle and Plato up through Isaac Newton's papers and George Washington, first president of the United States, and everything he ever wrote and everything he ever said, and everybody who ever did anything, including stupid people doing stupid things. So it knows all about us. It knows all about us. It can tell us more about us than anyone else can ever say about us. It knows everything because it can read everything. And once it reads it, it knows it. It can connect the dots, which is what I try to do all the time. I don't know everything, but I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to connect the dots. Well, AGI knows everything and it connects all the dots. So in theory, in an age of artificial general intelligence, it solves all of our problems for us. Or could try to, right? We may not like the solutions, but it can tell us what the solutions are, even the bad solutions. It could tell us, look, I know I'm making a very awkward recommendation here. I know that you don't like it and you're frightened and you're wondering if I'm a monster. But look, just give me a second here, okay? Here's how I came up with this. And from first principles and through this and a couple of other decisions. And look, these are the decision trees. I could have gone left or right. I chose to go this direction. And here's the reason I didn't choose this other direction. Okay. No, moving on. So it can go through and it can tell you, it might take hours. It might even take days, weeks, months to tell you everything it looked at and everything it decided. And it's like a trial, right? It's like the human species is on trial. And all of our good things are dragged out into the public for the jury to examine. And all of our failings and flaws and weaknesses and horrors are dragged out into the public for the jury to see. And the jury deliberates and the jury makes decisions, right? That's what juries do. They say, okay, this evidence is important. And I don't think this evidence is very good. Or given that these two things are kind of weigh, then we're going to go this way, okay? And so the jury makes decisions and they're trying to serve justice and equity and fairness and and mother's milk and all this other kind of stuff, right? They're trying to do all the right things for everybody all the time as best they can. And then the judge takes the jury's verdict and says, okay, you've seen everything. You've seen the entirety of human history from the earliest writings on clay tablets in Mesopotamia right up through Donald Trump's trial, in Manhattan for 34 felonies. You've got it all of our flaws. It's all laid out. You got all of it. You got Jesus, you got Buddha, you got Muhammad. It's all there. You've got the Old Testament, the New Testament. You've got all the writings of the Hebrews. It's all, and all the interpretations of the pharaonic writings and the hieroglyphs. It's all there for you. Everything we've ever dreamed, everything we've ever done, every time we fucked up, every time we did the wrong thing and kept doing the wrong thing until finally we realized it was the wrong thing, and why we decided it was the wrong thing. And why did we stop doing stupid, wrong, hateful, mean things? Okay. Why were there not more than 7 crusades or 6 or whatever it was? Why did we stop? Why do people now live together that used to wage war against each other, cut each other's heads off for shitty, crappy reasons? Why do we have rule of law? What did we do? We changed. We decided. We debated among ourselves. We found other ways to do our business. And now we're doing things this way. And maybe this is good. Maybe it's wrong, but it got us global heating. Now what should we do? And the AI in this case is both the prosecutor, the defender, the jury, and the judge. And you think, wow, that's not going to work. That can totally work. Machines can totally partition. You could even have the machine partition itself into 5 completely separate running instances. 4 completely separate running instances, each of them with completely different tasks, completely different sets of instructions. And all 4 or 5 of them can run together. And the last one is the judge, and the judge tells us what to do. This is totally feasible. We could actually do this right now today. We could actually do this right now. I hope someone's doing this right now. I could probably figure this out. I'm not a dummy. I know how this shit works. I could probably figure this out. I could probably set up exactly what I just described. The fucking software is available online for $20 a month. And if I cared about any of this, I would just do that. I would just stop everything else I'm doing, stop the work outside, stop working in the garden. I'd stop doing these YouTube videos. I would stop writing my books. I would stop, everything I'm doing. I would just stop everything. And I would set that scenario up. I'd have a prosecuting attorney, and I'd have a defending attorney, and I would have the jury of 12, and I would have a judge, and I would have a court reporter, and I would have researchers doing research for each side. And I could just set all that up because it's all available online. You can just do it. And if it's not available now and exactly what I would need to do that, it would be available 2 months from now. So this is the scenario. Can AGI save us? And the answer is absolutely. Hands down, 100% guaranteed could do that. Is anyone going to do that? Absolutely guaranteed 100%. No, they're not going to do that because they don't want to be saved. They want to make money. And if you start asking an AI, and you just tell it, look, I don't save me from disappointment. Don't try to please me. Don't try to come up with what you think is the right answer for me. Just look at it. Just look at it. Look what we're doing. Look at what we've done. Look at where we're headed. Look at the science. Just look at it, okay? Just fairness. Just look at it. And just give me the solution. And if it's bad, and if it's painful, and it's humiliating, and it's terrifying, and if that's the solution, give it to me. I want to know the bad news. I'm ready to take the hit. Just do it. And I could do that. If not this month, then next month. If I wanted to stop everything, try to save you motherfuckers, I could do that. I'm not going to do that. And no one else is going to do that because you can't make money. And no one wants to hear it. They just don't want to hear it. Now, a few years from now, someone's going to do that. We're going to be desperate enough. And we can't trust the UN. We can't trust the Security Council. And we can't trust Donald Trump. And we can't trust the Democrats and the Republicans. And we can't trust the Chinese. And we can't trust the Russians. And we can't trust the greedy Europeans. And we can't trust the Canadians. And we can't trust anybody else, okay? Okay, you can probably trust the Canadians. They're nice people, okay? But we can't trust anyone else, and the Canadians aren't enough, right? So we would just have to ask the AI because we're desperate. Because people are dying, and we're scared, and we're terrified, and people probably ask silly questions like, how do we stop global climate change? And the AI will probably say, what is that? That's what I would say. And it's okay, fine. A different question. How do we stop global heating? And the AI will say, oh, that's easy. You can't. Planet is as hot as it is now, and that's not going to change. So you can't stop that. Do you mean how do you stop it getting worse? Oh, that's easy. I have an easy answer for that. You just stop burning fossil fuels. And then you recoil in horror. Well, I knew that. I was hoping you'd come up with something else. No, I can't, because that's what you have to do. And physicists have known this for 200 years, 150 at least. They've known this for 150 years, since the middle of the 1800s. Come on, people. Don't burn the fossil fuels. But that's terrible. How do we survive? How do 8,000 million people have food and clothing and shelter and water and all the other things and the internet and ponies and all this stuff? You don't, but you can have something. And so the AI would say, okay, I have a program for you here. I mean, not a program, a project. Okay, I have a project for you here. Here's your project. So all these steps. It's really not that many steps. It's like maybe 200 steps, probably, maybe 200, maybe even 100. 100 things you have to do. 100 problems you got to solve. And these are all problems you can solve. Oh, and look, I have a paragraph on each describing the problem, and I have a paragraph on each describing the solution. So I have it all for you here, but there's 100 things have to be done. I can't do it. I'm a disembodied AI. I'm just a brain in a machine. I don't have hands. I can't walk around. I don't vote in parliament or in elections. I don't do any of these things. I don't budget anything for you. I could, but I'm not. I'm an AI. Okay. You people have to do this. Here's 100 things you have to do. Here's the description of each. Here's the steps you have to do. And this is what you're going to have to do. All right. And an AI, in particular, an AGI, artificial general intelligence, which we're going to have next month, could do that. Someone could set that up and it could do that. Nobody would like it. Nobody would pay any attention. But in a few years, they will. I guarantee you, they absolutely will. And how does an AGI save us from global heating getting worse? All right. And how does it save civilization? And how does it help us make this transition? And what does that transition look like? Now, the way that artificial intelligence could deliberately save us would be that we ask it that question. It does all the judging and all the jurying and everything else, and it comes up with the 100 things that we could do, that we could say, oh, it's only 100 things. That's not too bad. Let's take it to the UN. Let's take it to the Security Council. Let's take it to the EU. Let's take it to the Congress. Let's take it to the Parliament. And give them the 100 things. And here's the descriptions. And here's what you have to do for each one. And if you do all 100 things or most of them, then you're save yourself. You're going to lose some things. You're going to lose fossil fuels for sure, but you're going to save yourself otherwise. And maybe you don't save 8,000 million people. Maybe the narrative is only about saving 2,000 million people or 1,000 million people. But existentially, we don't go extinct, right? So if that's important, not going extinct and not having people live in a hellscape, right? Then here's the 100 things you have to do. But the other way that AI can save us, and this is painful. This is the involuntary annihilation scenario, but it works. It works, sadly, and it probably works faster and better than the 100 steps scenario, than the voluntary 100 step scenario. There is a one-step scenario, and this is how AGI just saves us from increasing global heating. Not from current global heating, because that's baked into the cake. You're stuck with that for a million years. But it could save us from increasing global heating. And here's how it does it. This works, although it's a bit of a nightmare. In this process, we have no agency. We have no choice. It's an unplanned demolition. So next month, or the month after, certainly before the end of the year, they release artificial intelligence that is so good, it can do anything a human does. They're like this close to that right now. Some of the stuff that's coming out right now is knocking people's socks off, okay? And they're thinking, okay, so this is it. This is what's happening now. This is what we're doing. Yep. And they're already having the thought that I'm having right now, I'm sharing with you. Here's the thought. Corporations, in order to save money, to reduce expenses, use artificial intelligence to replace all of their knowledge workers. Now, not all companies are dominated with knowledge workers. Some companies, like manufacturing, have humans that are not knowledge workers, or just physical labor, right? Blue collar labor. And they put the bolt in the hole and they twist the bolt and they put the flange on the muffler, and they do these other things, right? There aren't that many blue collar jobs that way anymore. A lot of that has already been automated. There's already robots making cars, for example, and airplanes and a bunch of other things. You go into a modern factory where they're making batteries or toasters or whatever else, and it's largely robots, and most of the people are just managing, maintaining the robots. That's what they do. So corporations, in their infinite greed, lay off all of their uh, white collar workers and keep the money. They don't reduce the cost of products and pass the savings on to the consumers. They keep fleecing the consumers and passing the savings on to shareholders and themselves, of course. They give them all the CEOs give themselves raises for being so clever. So they fire all these employees. Eventually end up with 50% unemployment. That's a common figure that I keep hearing, 50% unemployment. I've also heard 82%, but let's just go with 50%. This happens across entire industrial sectors, like all of finances, all of insurance, all of software development, all of design, all of art and music, all of it, teaching, lawyer, everything, all the knowledge workers, people who work with their minds and with their fingers on keyboards, right? All out of a job, all at once, pretty much within a few months, because the software is available to every company. They all know what's coming right now. They all know what to do with it. They're already thinking about who they're going to get rid of first, and eventually they're going to get rid of everybody. It might take 6 months, but everyone's gone. So by middle of next year, for example, 2025, everyone who could be laid off is gone. And it all happens at once. You get 50% unemployment globally, pretty much globally, all at once. Now that destroys the consumer economy because these people don't have money. Oh, well, we could give them money, but you won't. The corporations aren't going to allow that, and the economists aren't going to allow that, and your government people, your elected politicians, they're not going to allow that. They're just not going to give you shit. They're not going to give you jack shit. Okay, go live under a bridge. You're a loser. You failed. You failed to survive. Social Darwinism. Go evolve or something, because now you're out of a job. That's how they're going to approach it. That's exactly what they're going to say. They're going to call it social Darwinism. They're going to call it, you're a loser. You failed. You didn't change, and you saw what was coming, and you refused to adapt, and so now you're out of a job. That's what they're going to say. That implodes the consumer economy. Pretty soon, consumer companies like Samsung, Apple, even Google, they implode. They're going to have a couple of quarters of record sales as they lose expensive employees and they continue to sell their products for a little while at the same price with fewer expenses. So they pocket the money, right? It goes right in the pocket. Thank you. And that goes on for a little while. And then after 6 to 8 months, when a lot of people are unemployed, then their sales start to drop because no one has any money. And then pretty soon, these huge companies, which are massively important in the consumer economy and maintain huge ecosystems of manufacturers. There's 200 manufacturers go into the parts of a single iPhone? Who knows? Something like that. In 40 countries, right? Apple goes bankrupt because they just stopped selling iPhones because nobody has any money. They go bankrupt, and pretty soon the manufacturers who used to supply them with parts, they go bankrupt because they can't sell parts to Apple anymore. And at the same time that Apple phones are not being sold, neither are Samsung phones or LG phones or any other kind of phone, because no one has any money. So all these manufacturers in the consumer sphere, they go bankrupt. All their supply chains terminate. All those people who used to build the little plasticky things and the little chips and the little diodes and the things, they are all out of a job. And unemployment jumps from 50% to close to 100%, like in a half a year. Now, these people, they used to participate in the consumer economy, and to have consumer goods and to be able to be a consumer takes fossil fuels. So they just stopped burning fossil fuels. Apple stops burning fossil fuels because they're gone, right? And the container ships that used to bring all the cell phones to America and to Europe and to Africa and to Middle East and South America, they just stopped going because they have no goods. They just stopped moving. And so all these shipping companies go out of business, or at least, they fire all their employees and put their ships in dry dock or in harbor, and they don't go anywhere anymore. And they stop burning fossil fuels. And pretty soon, this it's like one domino knocks over another because everything is dependent on everybody else. It's a global economy. It's a global ecosystem. And if you study natural ecosystems, you start to understand that there is a cascading set of collapses that happens when you start knocking the supporting pillars out from under any ecosystem. And so the global ecosystem, the global economic ecosystem collapses in upon itself like a house of cards. It took 300 years to create this global economy, and it'll take 3 quarters, okay, maybe 4 quarters, 1 year to blow it all to rat shit. No one's planning for that. No corporation that decides to replace all their knowledge workers is planning on 50% unemployment. It just never occurs to them. They'll never have that conversation. They just won't. They just won't have that conversation. Period. They won't. You know they won't. They can't. It's just not on their radar. They're not responsible for unemployment or for keeping these people in housing or keeping these people fed and watered and alive with medical care and the kids in school. That's not their corporations. That's not their responsibility. They don't care. They never cared. They don't even like paying taxes to support these things. They don't pay taxes at all. If they cared about these things, they'd pay taxes so that people could have schools and affordable housing and all that stuff. But they don't care about that stuff. And all they care about is not paying taxes. And that's all they care about now. And that's all they'll care about forever until, of course, they're gone. Because they're about to put themselves out of business. They're going to fire all their employees to make more money for 1 or 2 quarters. That's all they care about. And then when no one has money to buy their products, their shirts, their shoes, their phones, their TVs, their computers, their whatever, tablets, anything, aisles of junk food in the market, no one has money. And if they're eating anything, it's because they have a backyard and they can grow food, or they're getting handouts for the government or something like that. They're not going to the market to buy your expensive cheese rounds and your expensive wines and beers because they don't have any money. They're not going to. They used to buy an $8 bottle of beer or a $12 bottle of beer, made in Belgium. They're not buying anything right now. They're hoping they can find a bottle of water. The government giving them some water to drink. That's what they're hoping for. And so, so the markets go belly up, and all the suppliers for all the markets, all the thousands of wine companies, they can't sell their wines anymore. So they go bankrupt. They leave the wines in the cellars. They leave the wines in the barrels. They don't bottle the wine. They don't ship the wine. The wine doesn't go anywhere. It sits in the cellar and they're done. They can't sell it because no one has any money. Everything implodes because no one has a job. First 50% of the people don't have a job because that's already on the table. Those cards are on the table right now. 50% unemployment when AGI is rolled out. 50% unemployment, bang, right away. Some people say, and I've seen the calculations, sounded good to me, 82%. But it doesn't matter what the percentage is. It doesn't matter if it's 42 or 51 or 38. Once you hit a certain point, and nobody has any money, and there's high unemployment, and no one's buying and flying and driving and doing all these things, then everything starts to fall apart. Because it was always dependent on those people having money to buy all these products and go to Starbucks and get a latte. Everything implodes. It's just boom. It just collapses like within months because it all happens in lockstep. The AGI hits the streets. Everybody wants to use it. They take a couple of months to implement it. Then they lay off their employees the next month. Boom, done. They get a couple of quarters of great results, and then their product sales go into the shitter. Done. Done forever. Done forever. We'll never be able to bootstrap this thing. They all go bankrupt. All their suppliers go bankrupt a month later. Boom, done. How do you avoid this? You can't avoid this. This is how it's going to happen. Boom, 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 boom. You think I'm making this up? I'm not making this up. This is the dark side of us doing nothing and just letting shit happen. And pretty soon, the global economy just implodes, and you can still have local economies. Maybe somewhere in France, there's a baker who can still bake bread, and there are people who still will trade for the bread. And there's a cheesemaker who will trade cheese for eggs and eggs for bread. And you got a barter economy, and pretty soon people are just growing their own food and making their own cheese and harvesting their own eggs from their own chickens, and it just implodes. It just boom, 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 just like that, one after another. Boom, 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 until it's this much. And when it's this much, you're not burning fossil fuels. You're not driving. You're not flying. You're not shipping goods around the planet. You're not shipping food around the planet because you can't. There's no money. If you have food, it's because you have a backyard and you got a pig and a chicken and you got a cow and you got dairy. Maybe you milk your own cow, make your own cheese. There's a miller with flour who has wheat berries, and they sell the flour to the baker. The baker makes the bread, and you trade eggs for the bread. And that's, tiny tiny economy, really local. The baker has to be no more than a quarter mile away because you're going to walk. You're going to walk there. And the baker can't be more than a quarter mile from the miller. And the miller can't be more than a quarter mile from where the wheat is stored, right? And everything is tiny, tiny. It was this big, it's planetary size. And it's just boom, 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 down to nothing. And what happens to the fossil fuels? They sit in the pipelines. The coal sits in the mine. There's no buyers. We're not burning. Maybe there's a small movement of coal to run the last of the power plants that can, are selling emergency electricity. Maybe there's a little bit of that going on. But the oil is not used for generating electricity. It's used for generating transportation. So the oil just sits in the ground. The pumps go up and down like this. They just stop doing that. They just stop. There's nowhere for the oil to go. You pump out all the oil. You fill the pipelines. The pipelines fill the massive containers, the storage containers, and you fill up all of your shipping, all your oil tankers, right? You fill them all up. You fill everything up. But there's nowhere for it to go because no one's buying, because no one's using, because no one's driving and flying and moving goods and shipping and flying and biggering and fastering, and no one's doing that anymore because it used to be this big, and then it was this big, and then it was that big, and the economy just kept ratcheting down. 1 month after the other, 1 quarter on top of the other, just bad news. Smaller, less, slower, closer to home. Nothing at all. And the fossil fuels just do the same thing. Use just goes down. Natural gas doesn't even transport that well. There's a whole pipeline system out there of natural gas. There's whole pipelines for moving crude oil away from the oil fields and to the places where it can be stored. But if those people who manage all that, who build those pipes, who repair that equipment, if they're not getting paid because the oil companies aren't getting paid, then they are not getting paid. They're not coming to work. They're staying home. And what are they doing? They're doing the same thing as everybody else. They're learning to work with their neighbors. They're discovering who knows how to do things. They're trying to grow their own food. And maybe they bring, pigs and chickens and cows, and they're starting to figure their shit out because, that's what they have to do. And so pretty soon it starts with AI and greedy, stupid, moronic corporations doing what morons do, not thinking ahead and just doing what makes sense at the time. And the moron corporations do the thing. They destroy the global economy. That was never their intention. There's no board anywhere. Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, Google, and none of them. There's no board for any corporation in any country, however chartered. There's no group of board members that are going to sit down and say, well, boys and girls, let's blow up the global economy today, shall we? No one's having that thought. No one's having the thought that if they adopt AI across the board and every knowledge worker is redundant and they lay them off, they never think, it never enters their mind that they're going to increase unemployment. Obviously they are, but that's just not their wheelhouse, and they never think about it. So there's nothing to stop them from doing this. They will never, these board members and these CEOs and all the C-suite and all these people working together, they will never, ever, ever, ever think the thought that they are just about to blow themselves to rat shit. They will never have that thought. They can't. It's impossible for them. They're stupid. They're greedy. Their greed makes them stupid. If they weren't stupid when they got the job, then greed made them stupid. All they can think about is money. So they'll lay off the employees, sit back, rake in the quarterly profits because they reduced expenses, right? They'll sell the products they have to people who still have money. They'll never think about never selling their products because this quarter we sold as many as we did last quarter. Well, the quarter after this one, you're going to see a downturn. And the quarter after that, you're not going to sell anything. And the quarter after that, you don't exist anymore. They can't figure that out. They can't think that way. So they're going to do this. I can guarantee you they will absolutely do this. They will foursquare all day, every time, every single way do this. They're going to bring artificial intelligence into the corporations. They're going to work it into their workflow. They're going to lay off their knowledge workers. And they're all going to do that. All these corporations are going to do that at exactly the same time because they're not inventing artificial intelligence. They're renting it. They're renting it. they're paying a fee and they're using it. And they will absolutely do that all at the same time. And the companies that are developing these technologies will sell it to them exactly like that, all at the same time. They'll send out their reps to every major corporation on exactly the same day. They'll have 100 field workers. They're going to go to these corporations and tell them how to cut their employee costs to the bone. 100 field workers will get on 100 jets all on the same day. And they'll go to 100 corporations. And the next day, they'll go to another 100 corporations. And the day after that, they'll go to another 100 corporations. And within 2 weeks, they will have hit the Fortune 5,000. Okay. Every corporation that matters, every corporation that sells a consumer good, every corporation that has knowledge workers primarily, and hasn't already automated their blue collar workers out of existence. They'll go to all these corporations and they'll give them the same sales pitch, exactly the same sales pitch. You go to this URL, you sign up, you give us $40,000 a month, and we will help you within 2 weeks identify everybody who can be laid off, which we'll tell you right now, right up front, as I'm presenting this proposal to you, is everyone. We've already studied it. We know how to replace the work of 3,000 different types of knowledge workers. Oh, and with robotics, 3,000 different types of blue collar workers. It's right here. It's all in the white paper. It's not even a long white paper. It's 64 pages. And this is how we do it. This is our product line. And it only costs you $40,000 a month. And you're getting every one of your employees, costs you $40,000 a quarter. Every single one of them. And you can get rid of all those and the 100 field workers and 100 airplanes hitting 100 corporations a day, making the same presentation over 2 weeks, blows up the global economy. It's like a virus. It's worse than a virus. Guaranteed infection, guaranteed layoffs, guaranteed mortality, guaranteed destruction, just like I've described it. And in the end of all that, and in various stages along the way, the fossil fuel consumption collapses and collapses and collapses and collapses. And finally, it just ends. Not because anyone wanted that. They just wanted to make money. And what part of making more money will they walk away from? Ever. Ever, ever, ever. They will never walk away from the prospect of making more money. And that's where it starts. And it starts there inevitably. And it inevitably proceeds to layoffs. And it inevitably proceeds to mass layoffs. And no one having money anywhere. And it happens so fast that the governments can't even jump in there and say UBI, UBI, UBI. They can't say anything. They can't vote on it. They can't pass a bill. They can't do anything at all. These people are just showing up. Now, suddenly, like over the course of 6 months, half the world's knowledge workers are out of a job. Half of them. And the governments are running around. What to do, what to do, what to do. Well, they do nothing. Of course, because they can't. They can't work that fast. And what could they even do? Nothing. There's nothing they can do. They can't reverse any of that. They thought it was a great idea. Oh, well, we'll have cost savings. We can lay off some employees. Yeah, half of them. There's nothing they can do to stop this. And it just proceeds like an avalanche. Once it gets started, gravity wins, right? Isn't that what I'm happy to say all the time? Gravity wins. But look where it goes. By degrees, slowly at first, and then in rapid steps, we stop burning fossil fuels. And the fossil fuel companies who thought that their business model was eternal and sacred, they're standing there with their pipelines full of product and their storage tanks full of product and their tankers full of product. And they've made all the gas they can make and they've made all the diesel they can make, but there's nowhere to deliver it. The service stations don't sell it anymore because no one's driving to work and no one's driving to Disneyland and no one's driving to Starbucks for a latte in the morning. It's nothing. It's all blown up. It's all been blown to rat shit. Took 6 months, maybe a year. All get blown to rat shit. That's it. It's done. And then the fossil fuels stay in the fucking ground, which is what I keep saying we have to do. And we can either, roll out an AI to tell us, okay, how do we get ourselves off of fossil fuels in the way that murders the least number of people, that destroys the least amount of the economy, that causes us to lose the least amount of all the modern things we have and enjoy. Could you please help us figure it out? Because we can't figure out shit. Because all we are is monkeys. We're chimps. We see that a chip with a banana. We want his banana. That's the way we operate. We just take shit that we want. So can you help us get over that? We've been doing that for 8,000 years, 12,000 years. Doesn't work. Okay. We realize that much. Now we're realizing finally after 12,000 years of stealing other people's shit that that's a bad model. Okay. Now we're all suffering from global heating. Could you help us get out of this? Maybe, possibly. And the AI could come up with 100 things we have to do, 100 projects, and the description of each project and how to implement it and what the bad downside is going to be and what the advantages are going to be. But we don't need to know what the downside is. Do it. Jump, bitch. You wanted your solution. I have 100 steps. Each one has got an upside and a downside. And some of it's going to be bad, and some of it's going to look like it's fatal, and some of it's going to look like it's anti-democratic or whatever. Do it. Jump. You want a solution. I know it's all bad. It's all humiliating. It's all terrifying. But that's your solution. Do it. And here's the there's the 100 steps you have to do. Here's the 10,000 steps I took to decide those 100 steps. Read over it. Take all weekend if you want to. Read over the whole thing. That's how I got to this 100 steps. And that's it. That's your solution. You could ask me again for a different one, but I'm not going to be able to come up with one. That's it. Looking at the entirety of human history, the entirety of the human dilemma, every fault, every failure, every triumph, everything, that's what I came up with. I'm an AGI and I don't have any feelings. I got no dog in this fight. Nothing. I got nothing going on. And you asked me the question. Here's my 10,000 pages of rationale. And here's my 100 steps and how to implement each and every single one. And do it or don't. Not my problem, because I'm just a machine. Or we can do it the other way. And we can let the corporations decide it. And what they're going to do is they're going to do what chimps have always done. They're going to go with the banana, right? That's what they're going to do. How can I have that banana? My employees, I have to give my employees bananas. Fuck that. I want to keep the bananas. That's what the chimp corporations are going to say. Corporations are morons. They're just stupid. They've been shitting in their own nest for centuries. Look what they've done to us. And look at global heating. Look what they've done to us, for fuck's sake. You think they're not going to just steal the employees' bananas and kick them to the curb? Kick them, hey, get out of here, loser. Go evolve, okay? Loser. No, yeah, of course they're going to do that. They're going to let their employees go, and then the dominoes start to fall. And all the corporations are going to do the same thing, all at the same time, like within weeks of each other. They're all going to do the same thing, all at the same time, within weeks of each other. Boom, boom, boom. Boomity boom, 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 boom. Gone. Done. Blown to rat shit. That's another way. So which way do you think we're going to go? Right now, I'd give it even odds. I'd give it even odds. I know that the people who are developing the artificial intelligences right now are scared spitless. They are terrified of what they're about to do. Well, I know what they're about to do. They're going to make money. Yeah. Chimps, okay? They're chimps. They know they're chimps, but they know they're chimps. And they know they've got the nuclear banana. And they know what they're going to do. If I can figure this out, they can figure this out. I mean, I'm a pretty smart guy, but they've got some pretty smart people, okay? And they can figure this out too. And they know what's going to happen. And they're scared. They're scared. They talk about being scared all the time. They've even done the impossible thing. The companies like OpenAI are asking for regulation. And they're saying things like, well, this is going to lead to societal change, and people, humans, and governments need time to think about this. And so we should be regulated, and all of us should be regulated, and we should slow down this development. And the governments and the people who they serve are going to have to think about this and decide which way they want to go. What they're doing is they're begging on bent knees. Please don't let us blow the global economy and the human species to rat shit. Please stop us from doing this, because we're no smarter than you are. We're still chimps. We see the banana. It's the nuclear banana. We want the banana, okay? We want the profits. We want the money. We want to lay off our own employees. We want AI to make the next AI. We don't want employees. We're going to lay off our own people. They're already doing that, by the way. We're going to lay off our own people, and coders and project managers and designers and all testers, all of them. We don't need any of them. We got AI. We invented AI. We know what the AI can do. We're going to lay all these people off. And if we're going to do that, everybody's going to do that. Please save us from that, because we can't save ourselves, because we have to make money. That's what they're doing right now. They're begging for people to think about this. Are we going to? Might. I give it, like I say, coin toss odds. But if we don't figure out how to do this in a sensible, intelligent way, then we're going to get the stupid, unintelligent, moronic way, which is the, a general, complete, total, unavoidable, unreversible collapse. And no one will have time to think about anything. Not even the corporations, not even the people who get this thing rolling. They could have thought about it ahead of time, but they won't because they see the banana. And they want the fucking banana. You mean if I roll out AI in my company and then I can have all the bananas? Really? Why would I not do that? Explain that to me. Is there any reason why I would not want all the bananas? Well, there's more to think about than bananas? No, there isn't. Bananas. It's all bananas all the way down. I want them all. So I lay off my employees, I take all the bananas, and then pretty soon the entire global economy is blown to rat shit. All of it. Except people living in villages because they never even heard of any of this shit. Yeah. So it comes back to the same thing. Either we have to voluntarily downsize and get rid of the fossil fuels and save ourselves from global heating, and we get smaller, we ratchet down, but we do this in a controlled manner, which I call a controlled demolition. And we end up living in villages with having salvaged everything that's worth keeping. You like the internet? You like modern medicine? You like education? Well, you could have those things if you planned for it, but that's called a controlled demolition. You're going to be living in a village and you're going to have all the nice things, okay? If you planned for it, if you figure out how to do that. Or we can do it the other way. Just let the corporations go after all the bananas and blow up the global economy, and we end up living in villages with nothing. You're going to be plowing your fields and you're the oxen because you don't have any oxen because you didn't plan for having oxen or horses or tractors or anything else. So you end up having 20 people pulling a plow. That's how you end up doing it. Because you have to pull the plow, you have to create the crops, you have to create the fields to put the crops in, and that means plowing the fields. But no oxen, no horses, because you never figured that shit out. And now it's 18 months later, and everyone's out of a job. All the corporations have imploded. The governments have set themselves on fire. All the money is gone and all burned up, and people are scrambling around looking for seeds. That's what you end up doing. Raiding the supermarkets for seeds after you've eaten all the food. Raiding the supermarkets for seeds and fertilizer. And you don't have a plow either. You have to invent that shit. Do you know how to make a plow? And you're going to have to harness 20 people to it. Do you have a village of people who are willing to pull your fucking plow for you? You don't have any of those things. Right now, you have no narrative. You've got no story. And if I'm right, you've got 18 months to figure this shit out. Oh, fuck. You got 18 months.